Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. Hey, I got my camera working. I'm back on my desktop, and that is good because we are excited and ready to talk Vikings football. I got Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith with me this week. How are you guys?
I'm here, but I don't have my little tagline in the bottom, so I'm going to work on that for right now.
Got to be more.
You need a tagline. You do, Adam. Come on. Be more professional. Chop to it.
That's what I get when I'm working on other stuff instead. What a donkey I am.
Hey, foreshadowing, we get to do our very first Game Ball and Donkeys. Even though it's the preseason, I love doing these awards. This is like my favorite segment that we do on the show.
Best part of the show during the football season.
Oh, it is. And we just get to rag on people, and that's always fun because we don't do that a lot here on the show. So it's fun when we just get to pick one player and just be like, "Blah, I don't like you this week." And I enjoy doing that on occasion, right?
What people got to remember about that, though, is that we're not ripping on the player. Some players have bad weeks, some players have good weeks. It happens.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes they're Cordero Patterson and get like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
We haven't been very nice to him lately.
Sorry, Cordero. Sorry, man.
I still hope we get an interview with him.
We would all be like starstruck and just like so super polite if we ever got Cordero.
It'd probably be third party,
right?
Like I'd hand my questions to some guy in a special keychain or laminate, and he would give me answers back. But hey,
we did meet Cordero. Yeah, hey, you got it back. You know what that means? We can start the show.
Yeah. Episode number 213, Going Ham. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Ham.
We don't have many quick hits, to be honest, because this is a pretty quick turnaround show here. We wanted to get one show in between the two preseason shows so that we could have plenty of time to discuss what happened last game and keep that fresh, as well as give enough time to prepare people that want to listen to the show to be ready for the next preseason game. Just that perfect timing right in the middle. That's what we were going for.
Yeah.
So, because of that, we don't have many quick hits, but we might as well run through them anyway. Just for you guys. Mm-hmm. And us, because I have a short-term memory problem. Not good.
Yeah. I don't remember anything that we wrote down.
Exactly. If not for these list of notes, I'd have no clue.
Yeah.
Alright, so during the broadcast for the game last week, the Minnesota Vikings revealed the reasons why Eric Kendricks and Sharif Floyd were held out of games. It is the hamstring and the knee injuries. Sharif Floyd had his knee scoped last season, if you remember, and maybe they're holding him out as a precautionary. Maybe he's having some other issues. They didn't go very in-depth about it. I'm hoping that as well as the hamstring are just precautionary stuff, because both these guys are very important to the team's defense.
Very much so. I expect that they will probably be held out for the rest of preseason. It's just me speculating right now. But come regular season, I'm sure that they will, be out for us.
Yeah, neither of these guys need to get on the field, prove themselves, earn their spots on the roster. They're there. They've got what they've got.
It'd be nice.
Know what to expect of them.
It'd be nice because Kendricks is a younger player for him to maybe get some reps, but I don't think it's really all that important for either of them to be out there.
No. But I sure do like watching Eric Kendricks run around. That is fun.
Yeah, he's borderline my favorite person on the defense, and like you said, reps would be fun. But dare I say, after 1 year on the defense, he doesn't need to get out there in the preseason and risk getting injured.
But we shouldn't have traded our other linebacker.
Gerald Hodges?
I want to start, says Gerald Hodges. Eric Kendricks is like, nope.
Remember that? You remember that
Zimmer.
we had a year ago about that? That was the big thing.
Uh-huh.
God, such a stink over Gerald Hodges.
Mike Zimmer was promptly like, door. Like, there's the door. Go. Out. I don't need you. Out. Go.
That's the thing, though, is that players should want to start. Like, this year, you got Joe Berger. Did a fantastic job at center last year. Came back, and now he's got to compete with John Sullivan for a starting job, which if John Sullivan's healthy, he'll probably earn. And the Vikings just traded for, or they didn't trade for Boone, but they signed Boone in free agency, and they gave Khalil a massive deal. Uh, he's not going to play a tackle anyway, but uh, Berger
Maybe.
doesn't have very many opportunities now to start, but he will be one of the top backup offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to start, and he's playing like he wants to earn a starting job. He's probably not happy about not starting, but you know what? He's that professional. He's there. He'll do his job, and when it's his time, he'll come in and shine. It's what he's done his entire career.
It's so true. I'm glad we get to talk about Joe Berger already. That's awesome.
These days, I don't know. These days, players, even kids around me that I've been talking to that are younger than me, it's all about placating the ego. Me, me, me. It's not about us, we, or anything like that. It's rare to see these young guys, especially where I live. I don't know if it's the case everywhere, but to see unselfishness and teamwork, it's just seems like something that's gone the way of the buffalo. And that's why when I see young guys with that attitude, when I see guys like Eric Kendricks, Teddy Bridgewater, these young guys just coming up so unselfish and humble and modest, uh, well, Mackenzie Alexander as well. That's one thing that really drew me to him. He's not humble and modest, but he's got that upbringing where I'm going to work hard for everything I've got. And it's those kind of players that when you see them and they come to your football team, you know that they're either going to work their hardest and go out doing their best, or they're going to turn themselves into stars.
I think the jackpot as far as the draft, getting these younger guys, because none of them, knock on wood here, have given us any issues off the field. There's not a Percy Harvin causing drama and throwing weight to the coach, or nobody getting popped for PEDs, knock on wood again.
We haven't had anything since the shot in the leg, right?
This is
Oh no, the tasing. We had the tasing.
minus the AP scandal a couple of years ago. We haven't had anything that had anything with our younger guys. We haven't had anything in a while, which is great. I mean, I know it's corny. Everybody says, "Oh, we want to look for model citizens," but you really do, because the last thing that you want to do, especially when we get on the show, like, who are we? But the last thing that I want to talk about ever again is Adrian Peterson's scandal with his son. You know, I'm sick to death of talking about it. I want to get on here and talk about somebody who makes a mistake that's easily avoidable, or something that was just, was a poor decision from the get-go. So I'm glad we don't have people like that. It's nice not to talk about it.
Absolutely. There was too big of a string there where everything was just so negative. And the Vikings did a fantastic job cleaning up that locker room.
How do you guys think it would have played out with Percy Harvin if Mike Zimmer would have been the head coach? Like, can you imagine trying to throw a weight at Mike Zimmer? Like, Zimmer picked that thing up and chucked it right through.
You remember last year when, I forget the Rams D-back that knocked Teddy out, but he's talking about...
Zimmer was ready to fight.
He was like, did you say anything to Jeff Fisher? He's like, no, and if we'd have been out on the street, I would have fought him.
See, Zimmer probably would have called for Harvin to get cut, which means we wouldn't have gotten that awesome trade that Spielman put together, and I don't know.
It was a pretty great...
Positive and negatives there.
Yeah. Well, you talk about one-sided trades, and that was a... Boy, Minnesota did good on that one.
Seattle got fleeced. Amazing. So Sports Illustrated named their top 100 players. On that list, 4 Minnesota Vikings players were listed. I guess I'll say listed again. I don't know. I'll just keep saying list.
Lists. We like lists.
But on that list, Harrison Smith was number 22, Adrian Peterson number 30, Anthony Barr number 39, and Linval Joseph number 79.
How ironic that Harrison Smith is 22 and Adrian Peterson is also 30 currently right now.
Nice catch. Someone did their homework.
It just jumped out to me. Sometimes every month or so I do something productive on the show. Thank you guys. Good night.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for listening to the Purple People Podcast.
Don't forget to tip your waitress. But it's real cool to have those players listed. As you guys probably all know, I'm big fans of each of those players, especially Linval Joseph. I think he's one of the most underrated pieces on this team.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, he was so under the radar. People didn't understand why he was getting the money he did. He was really kind of an under the radar player with the Giants too. So when
Mm-hmm.
he came over in free agency, there wasn't a lot of noise about him coming over, but the Vikings haven't had a real guy in the middle to play nose since the Williams Wall days.
The best part about it is too, if you watch the top 100 players, and he talks about it, he's like, I'm ready to be on this list." He's happy that he finally got some acknowledgement, and the only reason that he's 79 on the Sports Illustrated list, and I think he was 79 on the top 100 players as well, is the only reason that he's there so low, in my opinion, is because of injury. I think if he would have played all 16 games, he might have cracked into the top actual 70 in the 60 range. But he was out last year with some injuries. But caveat to that, even being injured, he's still part of that list. That should tell you something. Like you said, underrated is an understatement. This guy is one of my favorite players that we've taken for free agency acquirements in a very long time. I like him a lot. And
We
he's
got a
got the
couple
coolest
players here joining us
Instagram.
in the chat, which is pretty cool. Sam Kinney hopped in here with us. He said, I just started listening to you guys recently, but it doesn't look like you've updated your podcast. Well, we've
We're,
transitioned to a live show. We've
we're
gotten rid of
technically updating the podcast right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Technically, we've made a lot of changes. As far as format goes, not so much. But hey, we're open to suggestions. Shoot us off our line if you got something that you think might work pretty well. We're always open to suggestions. New segment
Lunch.
ideas, anything.
I'm always open to lunch. You can send me lunch anytime you would like.
Absolutely. Eric Spink's with us again. We do love Eric Spink. And he says he wants to see more of J-Ron Curse this preseason. We'll talk about him.
Yeah,
We got some talking about him coming up.
we sure do.
I believe we covered a lot of this last week, but ground was broken officially on the Egan facility. It's going to be the Twin City Orthopedics Performance Center. I praised Twin City Orthopedics quite a bit last week, so I'm not going to kind of drag this into the ground, but awesome to see that being set into motion.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson Day happens every year. Palestine, Texas. They love him. 10th annual celebration. And he gave back to some of the flood victims in Palestine, held a lot of cool... I don't know, maybe I'm up north and it's Palestine. Down there it's probably Palestine.
I think it's Palestine. I don't know.
That's what I think too. But either way, this is something very, very good. Way to keep the positive image out there and give back. And it's not only Texas too. If you guys are on Snapchat, which I think both of you guys are too, there's a lot of flooding in Louisiana too. So it's crazy down south right now. So it's cool to see that it took a little bit of time and some obviously some financial help to give back to. That's really, really, really nice. I like it when we do things like this.
In the comments on the side, please let us know if the echo problem is there. We worked to eliminate that problem from last week and the week before, so
We think we got it.
Yeah, I think we
I think
got
we're
it.
doing
Too.
good. I think we got it.
House computer office space style, so it's fine. We
Yeah.
got it.
Pretty much.
So yeah, we're always trying to make this a better experience, whether it's interaction with live people in the chat, interaction on the social media or whatever. Skullbikes 5 just joined us. Maybe we should start doing these shows a little earlier because we get some people in here.
No doubt. Skullbacks 5, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening in. Give us a
All right.
shout out on what you want us to talk about.
Guys
So if
in
you
the
haven't
chat,
seen this NFL spot with the home sweet home, and you're a Vikings fan, you got to check it out.
I haven't seen this.
I got a real good laugh out of this one. I posted up an article about it on the Viking Ages Facebook yesterday, but it's been out for a couple of days. I was a little behind the times. There's a commercial. They use the Motley Crue Home Sweet Home. And all these players close to football or celebrities are lip-syncing along to the song. They're just having a good old time. Then right in the middle, it cuts to absolute silence, and there's Mike Zimmer with his arms crossed just staring at the camera. And then it goes back to the song.
that's awesome.
So you said this is
I
on the
absolutely
Viking
loved it.
Age as well, correct?
Yep.
I can't wait to watch this. I had no idea about this.
There's also a scene from the construction of U.S. Bank Stadium. Greenway and I believe it's Kyle Rudolph. Yep, Kyle Rudolph are there in the building as well with the construction workers in a little line at midfield. Really a cool video. It's nice hype video to get you excited about football. I love when the NFL does stuff like that because I know that the NFL gets a bad rap. Everyone's like Goodell's a dictator and all this kind of stuff. But football is a great release for so many people. I look forward to the season every year. This year I had trouble getting into it, but as soon as I saw that ad as well as the first preseason game, I'm back on board.
Did you
Yeah,
catch?
we
It's
talked about that last week. Adam was in a funk. He wasn't excited yet. I was like, man, this is
yeah.
very interesting.
I was in a huge funk. I was not feeling it at all. I went to my fantasy football draft. I wasn't even interested in drafting any players. I just kind of went off the sheet. I'm like, okay, there's the top guy available. I'll take him, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just had a hard time getting into it. This year, though, now after seeing that first game and some of these advertisements, talking with some buddies, and doing a game review coming up, man, I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for game reviews. I love doing game reviews. They're so much fun.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
All right, so that's actually all the quick hits we've got.
Not bad. We could get some more time to talk about this game.
That's true. Let's start things off for the for the game reviews like we usually do during the regular season and preseason with our game balls and our donkeys.
Yeah, I love it.
Now I'll start things off, and my game ball for that game goes to Trey Waynes. I could have gone a couple different ways. To me, Trey Waynes had as good of a game as you could have hoped from him. He stuck with the big receivers. He played routes close. As far as speed goes, he kept up. He didn't use his hands too much. He looked like a guy who really worked hard refining his craft during the off season, learned during training camp. He's come a long way since we've seen him last. And if he can keep this up, because let's be honest, it's one preseason game, could be an absolute fluke that he played well. And I'm willing to accept that. I'm a Vikings fan, and I want everybody to be awesome. But hey, not everybody's consistently awesome. This game, Trey Waynes, was pretty awesome. But on the other hand, Matt Khalil was not as awesome. He didn't look like a guy that was worthy of the hefty price tag that was put on him. And I know the Bengals defense is not a spring chicken or I don't know, something easy bake
Spruce
oven.
Goose.
I don't know. They ain't easy. That's all I'm trying to say. So for him to take on that challenge, I get it. But to me, the result was disappointing, and I don't know if the Vikings will be looking at a left tackle next year. Probably too early to be talking about that since we got a lot more football to go, and it could just be one bad game. But for now, he's my donkey.
Solid
Well,
choices.
I guess I'll jump in. Surprise, surprise, I didn't get to watch this game. I was very upset. My computer was not around, and if you have an iPhone and you go through the third-party sites where you may or may not backhand watch these games, you can't do that on an iPhone. There's too many pop-ups, so I was keeping the updates going. I'm going to go backwards first. I heard a lot of negativity in pressers and a couple articles that I read from Andre Smith. Now, I don't know if that's because Carlos Dunlap knows him that well or if he's just struggling on the first game. It is the first game. It is preseason, which, hey, we'll chalk it up to that. Good thing it doesn't go on our record for this year. But I heard that he got the better of him a few times, which is really disheartening. He was probably my favorite acquirement this year. Obviously, Alex Boone was a big deal, but I believe he'll hold his own. I'm hoping this is just a fluke game since it was against a good defense and someone who knows him well. So, sorry, Andre Smith, not how I wanted to start off my donkey this year, but you get that. Game ball, I'm always going to be a homer for Teddy Bridgewater, and it's really hard to sway me from that. Teddy Bridgewater had almost a perfect game. He had one incompletion. He had a touchdown to Charles Johnson. I want to say something about that, though. I was going to make this my bold statement, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to rain on the parade, and I don't want to be that guy who says negative things when he's having a moment, he actually does something we've been asking him to do. It'd be really, really annoying of me to say, you need to complete more deep passes, and then when he does it, I kind of, go against him and nitpick. But that pass to Charles Johnson, was it beautiful? Yes. Charles Johnson busted their coverage, and he was wide open. The only thing that I didn't like that I really wish we could see, and I could seg this back, if you didn't listen to or watch our show the last week, we talked about Tom Brady and Teddy Bridgewater, and we made a ridiculous question out there so we'd get a lot of response. Teddy spends a lot of time doing 5, even 6, 7-step drops. I wish to God he could clean that up so he doesn't have to run forward and launch a ball like he did. But I can't complain. That was a pretty sweet pass. It's everything that we've been asking him to do, and it was our first-team offense, so I like that a lot. But stat-wise, 6 of 7 for 92 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and 175.9 QBR. You can't really ask for Teddy to do much more than that. If he could do that consistently every game, we would be very, very happy all year. Shout out to Teddy Bridgewater. I hope it continues.
I'm going to throw a small, minor defense out for Andre Smith. Like you said, he was playing against his teammates. But it was that one big play where Teddy stepped up and he had the 51-yard passing touchdown. That the key block that opened that all up, that allowed Teddy at that time to step up into the pocket, was Andre Smith. So at least he had that one nice big play going for him, the one that everybody gets to see.
Yeah, it's all over the place too, and that's a good point, Adam, because if I remember correctly, if you're watching it from the side, they were watching it, the cameras were pointed on the right side of the team. You got to see him step up, and then he moves to his right, which is coming towards you on the screen. So you're absolutely correct. So you can't take that away from him.
Eric Spink gave away a donkey in the chat here. He says his donkey is Jeff Locke for overkicking the coverage. Not acceptable.
Touché.
Well, if special teams could tackle too and not run into each other, take bad angles and cut each other off, that was just awful to watch. That was awful.
I'm sure Mike Prefer had a couple of explicitives for that.
Oh, yes. You're the only one left, Mr. West.
Well, I'm going to give my game ball this week to Adam Thielen, who had a really tough, really nice catch that he made. And I am just continually impressed by his growth as a player. And he's someone that, for whatever reason, a lot of fans always kind of want to write off as, well, maybe he could be an odd man out or he's not going to make the team. But he continues to grow, and he does so much, and he can play so many different positions and fill so many different roles for the Vikings. I just love what he brings to the team. And he's showing, in my opinion, that he's not just a core special teams guy and a backup receiver for the team. No, he's legitimately turning target for Teddy Bridgewater and the Minnesota Vikings, where I believe that you're going to see him become, a key player and a key contributor for the Minnesota Vikings. He just always finds ways to make plays for the team. So, Adam Thielen, you get my very first preseason game ball for the week.
But Adam Thielen ain't even going to make the roster. Mobo's taking his spot.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to have an aneurysm on this show.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. My donkey is going to go to someone that I don't think is going to make the team this year. Jabari Price is essentially a non-factor for the Minnesota Vikings at this point on defense. He's looked like a liability when he's out there in coverage. He's been burned. He was burned consistently during this game against Cincinnati. On top of him having some off-the-field issues before that were a couple seasons ago, I just don't really see where he's going to fit into this roster. There are other players that we've drafted, other defensive backs, that have already jumped over top of him, in my opinion, and I just don't see him making the 2016 Minnesota Vikings, and he had a pretty awful game against Cincinnati, and unless he's really able to turn it around, I just don't see it happening for him.
If you've been following along on Twitter, a lot of Vikings fandom have the same opinion as you do on him.
Mm-hmm.
A solid statement there. He was going to be my second choice, so I'm glad somebody picked him up, especially looking through the notes.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. And we did reach out to Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn is a very regular listener. We've had him on the show a couple times. He does a lot of the work on our Facebook page. And I asked him to give me his game ball and donkey and that I'd read it off, so here it is. His game ball went to Charles Johnson, working his way up from his list of wide receiver cuts to starter. Not from attrition or lack of competition, but through hard work, capped off by an excellent route for a 49-yard touchdown. Well done, good sir. And yes, that double move that he had was beautiful. I know that when you watch the play, you don't really even get a chance to see it happen, because by the time they switch over to Charles Johnson, he's already got that big separation. But man, that move was pretty. So good call there, Tommy. And Andre Smith as his donkey, looking like another Matt Khalil, just on the right side of the formation. Maybe he just got lax, maybe it's just a preseason game, but wow, not impressed. And we kind of touched on that with Mr. Smith's donkey as well. Smith? I didn't even realize that. Calling out your own, man. That's not good. And to think, you could have... You want him to succeed so you can get a jersey, right? You want Smith on the back.
Absolutely. I mean, I could cop it out and just
Harrison Smith
jersey.
I suppose, yeah.
I like Andre Smith. I like the big body guys, and I like that he used to play for Mike Zimmer. But it's one game. Not too worried about it. Somebody's got to be the donkey.
Some lineman love with the jersey there.
Well, since we're talking about the line, do you guys want to just segue into kind of review a little bit and talk about the first string offensive line and what you guys thought of it?
My first opinion is yuck. And my second opinion was, oh no.
Work in progress is the first statement that comes to mind for me, which is not really, I think, what we all wanted to talk about. But hey, it is preseason, week number 1. It is a team that, they did practice that. So I don't know how much that would factor into tendencies and like the teams getting to know one another so that they were able to, match up against one another really well. But it was definitely, for as much hype, I think, as both the fans have put out and as what Minnesota Vikings PR, frankly, have put into this retooled offensive line, I was hoping for a bit stronger of a performance from I'm worried about the right side of the line, you guys, for the reasons you guys have said. But Matt Khalil, at this point, I kind of feel like he is what he is, where you're going to get stretches where he's going to look good, and you're going to get stretches where he's going to look bad. And you just kind of have to take that as that is Matt Khalil at this point.
My thing with Khalil is that it's not just the play all the time, though, too. It's the penalties. I believe that the one penalty that he got called for was a chop block, and I didn't even see him go to the ground. So maybe that's just me. I missed something, but it didn't even look like it was him that did it to me, if it even happened. So
I think the most frustrating thing too as a fan is when in these positions, I know we refer to this stuff like this a lot, like the quarterback position, because I mean a lot of people, God, they have dumb opinions on that, but whatever. Well, we're not going to Teddy stuff, but with Matt Khalil,
we are.
It really comes down to who out there that is floating around is better. Because you got to think too. I'm not only worried about Teddy and worried about chemistry and all that stuff. You got to worry about, are we paying this guy to suck? You got to think the financial aspect too. But you got to ask yourself, because there are some times when Matt Khalil will flash, and he'll look like the number 3 overall pick or number 4, whichever one he was from a few years back. And then there's other times I ask myself, how are you the starter? What are you doing? Especially what Adam said too. This guy has a lot of penalties, and the worst thing about Matt Khalil that I want him to be successful with, I want him to be his former self, is he always plays well against mediocre or bad, ends. But when he has to play top-notch guys, they own him. Like, we have a lot of good teams coming up, especially in the first stretch. Clay Matthews always has his number, which annoys me. I know Clay Matthews isn't a DN, but anytime he has to go up against Clay Matthews is terrible. The Carolina defense is going to be a nightmare for him, and it's worrisome. So you want him to be better, but I have to throw my 2 cents in on about Matt Khalil. I wish he played better. I hope he does. But who out there are we going to take that's better than him? We're kind of like, it's kind of like a, oh God, I don't want to say a bad marriage, but it's kind of what it is. You're kind of stuck with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you saw too on the depth chart, behind Khalil was T.J. Clemmings at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they released the first unofficial depth chart, Clemmings was back to being the backup on the right side, and whether or not he's a swing, I don't know. I don't know if they're counting on Wentworth or whoever else is back there to take over for that. The competition behind him just isn't there, so even if they wanted to yank Khalil, they probably can't.
Right. See, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, but it's a force. We're I hate to say stuck with him. It's not like we hate him, but gosh, man, like you said, it might be way too early. That might be the way too early prediction that well, the Vikings are going to take a left tackle next year. I mean, that's not out of the scope of possibility at all.
It's way too early to be talking draft. Way too early. Skull Vikes wanted to remind us of when Matt Khalil was in the Pro Bowl. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Vaguely, just a little bit.
And that opened up the door for Pieology.
Which is fantastic. I do love Pieology.
Well, let's be honest, it's kind of hard to screw up pizza.
Yes.
The formula's been going around for years. Crust, cheese, sauce, it works.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't put, like, dog poop on it or something, you're usually good to go.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a hot take.
But I do think
dog poop.
I do think though that the line is going to improve and they're going to get better because you know as well as I do that that was an unacceptable performance. And Alex Boone, kind of, even though he's the new guy on the line, he's kind of like the veteran. Him and John Sullivan, I would think, are kind of like the two vocal leaders of that group. They're going to make sure everyone else knows that's unacceptable, and Mike Zimmer probably had just a whole string of things that we can't repeat on our PG show about that.
I wouldn't want Soprano mad at me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him mad either. So I believe they're going to get it. Will be improved. Like the little bit that we've seen, you got to give them time and whatever. They'll get it done.
For sure.
You'll have a good test to do it this week, too, because we play Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And over on our social media, on Facebook, Tommy Gunn posted up something kind of interesting. He said that 50 quarterbacks have thrown 10-plus passes so far this preseason, and the highest rating to this point is Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, buddy.
It's week one of the preseason. I know, don't put too much into it. I get it, but
I'm going to put all kinds of stuff into it, Adam.
Bridgewater is one of those guys, man. He's always grinding. He's always trying to get better. And if you can look at him and tell me that those arms aren't bigger and stronger than last year, and that he's not more aware of his surroundings, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, because he looks like a different player in many respects, but the same guy in the ways that made him successful. He still finds the guys underneath. But now he's got that little glance. He's got that little bit more of that confidence in the deep ball. He's got a little bit more arm strength to throw that up. And I love watching this from Teddy, the guy that's willing to work to get it done. And I talked about it before. It's that attitude. It really is. And when Teddy came out, 6 for 7, 92 yards, 1 touchdown, only took 1 sack, quarterback rating of 158.3. After that first dismal series where they failed to pick up a first down, gained 1 yard in the first quarter, Bridgewater came to play.
Mm-hmm. It's because of the gloves, Adam. It's because of the gloves. It's all because of the gloves.
I love it.
What are you guys thinking of the Vikings quarterback situation so far this year? I have my thoughts mirror Adam. I'm really seeing from Teddy so far through off-season training camp and the series that he played. He looks like he is continuing to grow as a quarterback, and he's still so young. That's what people forget. He's coming into his 3rd year, but how old is Teddy? Adam, is he 23?
I'll get it for you right now.
Yeah, he's still super young, even for a 3rd-year quarterback.
He is 23 years old. His birthday is November the 10th.
yeah, he still has so much room to grow and to just continually get better. And I'm loving what I am seeing from Teddy Bridgewater. I think when you look behind him on the depth chart, Sean Hill looked like Sean Hill in the preseason yesterday. I mean,
You gotta give Sean Hill a little more credit than that, man.
wait. I wasn't going to knock him. I was actually going to give him the benefit of the doubt, Adam, and say that he looked like a good, stable veteran option behind Teddy
He did.
last week. I was like, he seemed very calm and very poised, which is what you want from him, and that's what you want in a backup behind Teddy Bridgewater. So
I'm still pissed off we didn't get a different backup. I'm still butthurt about that. I love Sean Hill, but he's too. If it comes down, if Teddy for some reason went down and we just couldn't get him back the rest of the year, I'm pretty sure my drinking would more than triple if we had to watch Sean Hill for the rest of however long the season was. That was a very
last year.
Oh, I just think about it too. You got to think the game that we got to see a sample of. A lot of people, if you look at the Rams on paper, they're whatever. They're a mediocre team. That defense is legit. He didn't play well at all against that defense.
Rams D-line, oh my goodness.
Ooh, they were eating him alive. He couldn't make a throw to save his life. He was always under pressure. So, it's frustrating. I wish they would have got someone named Nick Foles or someone, I don't know, just floating around out there cheap.
Let's be real about Sean Hill here for a minute, guys. There's a lot of people who, when they do like, I'm gonna predict the 53-man roster for the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of the time when people do that, I think they look at it as, this is who I think is going to make the roster. But when you do predictions or mock drafts or whatever, you have to not look at it as, who do I think is going to make the roster or who would I like to make the roster. It's, who do the Vikings and Rick Spielman are going to select to make the roster. So with that said, I think that Rick Spielman and the Minnesota Vikings are clearly going to go with Sean Hill as the backup to Teddy Bridgewater. I do not see them letting go of Sean Hill and keeping Joel Stave or anyone else as the number 2 backup behind Teddy. I think this is Sean Hill for the rest of the season, barring injury or whatever, will be your backup.
Did T-Jack get picked up somewhere?
Didn't T-Jack beat his wife or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So no.
I forgot about that.
He's not coming.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back to Minnesota.
That's not happening.
I think that's a standard now, an unwritten rule. You got to look at the Ray Rice situation because the evidence was there. I think that's one reason why Greg Hardy still gets a job. Is because there's no physical evidence out there. Obviously,
Dallas.
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 Trash about they have such crappy players, but you got to think if you have something on record like a video or an audio recording, you're pretty much done for because it's never going to go in. I think that's why Ray Rice is having a time. I mean, he damn near, what did he say? He's going to donate his salary if you can't. He just wanted to play.
Yeah,
right.
All of it. I'll just donate my entire salary.
I think a lot of teams don't even want to attempt to have to wash their hands clean of.
You don't want the
PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, the options aren't really out there. But like we were talking about Sean Hill, 6 of 7, 52 yards, average 7.4 yards a pass.
Look at his QBR. Holy crap.
Yeah, he had a solid game.
Mm-hmm. And he hooked up with Laquan Treadwell as well.
He did.
Too.
Yes, he did.
A nice
Shout out to Laquan Treadwell for catching 4 balls. I think 4 out of 5. So good for him. You know what my favorite thing too? I was watching before we started. Speaking of Laquan Treadwell, watching the interview, and you could tell he had a lot of coaching, and it's not because he doesn't sound articulate. He doesn't sound illiterate or anything like that. He just gives you the most simple, short answers. He's my favorite person now. I want to see in interviews. They'd be like, "So how was your first game?" He's like, "It was fun, man." And they were like, "Well, what were some of the things that happened that you weren't expecting?" He's like, "Not much, man. It was fun." He just kept saying
that. I like that.
Fun he had. Cool. And I'm like, this is cool. He's like, well, what do you think about chemistry? He's like, yeah, I think we all build chemistry every single day at practice, but that's for everybody. I just had a lot of fun, man. It's like, this guy's my hero.
I like that.
So let's talk about Joel Stave.
Do we have to?
8 of 13, 76 yards, 5.8 yards per pass, 1 int. And if any other quarterback during the preseason had a performance like this, they'd be either average or below average. But the Minnesota Vikings fan base have surrounded around Stave. I don't know what it is. They love him.
Why do you guys circulate around these quarterbacks that are never going to start, maybe a backup at best, and you just throw them up on a pedestal? This happens every single time.
Every offseason.
It was McLeod a couple years ago, which I love.
Well, hey.
Don't get me wrong. He was awesome.
Star Fox was awesome.
Then I got excited for Taylor Heineke last year because he's right down the road. He's an Old Dominion guy. Of course, he decided to be Superman this year and didn't work out for him. But everybody rallies around these third-string quarterbacks. I don't understand it. Look at the numbers. What did you see?
He dumped off some passes, threw a pick. He threw some balls into the ground that were catchable. That should have been catchable. I mean, the guy was open. It's the same problem he had in college. It was inconsistencies. He'll throw some passes that are right on the money, and then he'll throw others when the guy's open. That just makes you go, how did he miss that?
I don't get it.
I hate to say it.
It reflects in the quarterback rating, 45.7, 5.8 yards per pass. It's those little dumps.
Little dumps. He took a big dump on the field.
No, come on, it wasn't that bad. I mean, this is his first NFL preseason game. There's a lot of room of improvement for him. I can see why fans find it encouraging. He had a couple nice completions, some passes that were right on the money, but like I said, it's inconsistencies. For me, I like a player who plays at a consistent level, even if it's not high. I'd rather take a guy who is consistently average or above than a guy that flashes greatness and then flashes not greatness, I'll say.
Christian Ponder.
We've been predicting this for a couple of years now, Adam, kind of essentially ever since we drafted Teddy, that the Vikings are going to roll with 2 quarterbacks instead of 3. And I finally think this is the year that it actually happens, that the team rolls with Teddy Bridgewater and Sean Hill, and then we just don't keep an emergency QB3 on the roster.
I'll be honest, right now, if you asked me, is it worth keeping a third quarterback on the roster to keep Joel Stave safe?
No.
I'm going to say no.
Who's gonna sign Joel Stave? No one's gonna sign Joel Stave. Come on, that's ridiculous. No one wants him. They've all got every other team has their own worthless equivalent of Joel Stave right now. No one needs ours.
In this defense for us keeping 2 quarterbacks this year, the only reason I believe it'll happen is because Taylor Heineke decided to kick a window in. I think if he was around, I think we would have 3. But you're right.
I like Heineke. I think he's going to be a great backup in the NFL. I do. I think he's going to be one of those guys you can rely on to come in, finish off a game, maybe win 1 or 2 out of 3 or 4 games if your starting quarterback goes down. But again, he's a guy I don't want to rely on for a long-term thing. And this Stave stuff, I just don't see where it's coming from.
Quarterback so long in Minnesota.
You know,
backup quarterbacks are always the favorites. They are.
In one game, and I'm going to piss some people off, and I hope they're listening. In one game, for this one sample size of his NFL career of 1, he was Christian Ponder for a game. He was Christian Ponder. Somebody tell me a reason why I'm wrong on that. And it's fine because Christian had great moments. Sure. But as many that I can count on my hand that were awesome, there's 3 more hands for picks or dink and dunks. Don't write this guy into your castle yet.
Don't write him out yet, though. I mean,
I'm not going to write him out. I just don't like the hype. Like, I understand that you want to be excited for him. Be excited for him. But everybody's giving him a little bit more than what he should have gotten. I'm like,
yeah, I've seen people on Twitter who are like, remember the day when Joel Stave played this preseason game for the Vikings. Remember, like it's like Mad Max. Like I need some silver spray paint. Like if I'm gonna go to Valhalla because of Joel Stave's quarterback play. Like come on.
I admit I'm interested to see more from him, but I'm not sure that it's more than just an interest. I mean, I'm not gonna rely on him or anything, but as of right now, Teddy played fantastic.
Come on, or something.
Teddy played fantastic. We had some awesome play from Sean Hill as well. Stave, like I said, we'll see more.
Well, if
Let's
you
talk
guys
about
want,
where
I
are we
mean,
moving to now.
oh, I was just gonna say for all the Joel Stave fans, put on the 1st of September, mark your calendars because you're gonna get more of him than you ever want against the Rams at home. So yeah, just mark your calendars now. We're gonna see a lot from him. Like Adam said, I want to see more. I want to see more of him just in this capacity, in the preseason capacity. But you'll get your chance, especially those last 2 games.
We'll probably get 3 more halves of Joel Stave, so
That
sit
would be an
down, buckle
amazing.
up.
That would be an amazing T-shirt for all you Joel Stave fans.
You know, and it would sell right now. People love him.
Oh,
I should make
People
this.
are loving him.
I should custom print this.
you
All right,
should.
let's talk about CJ Ham for a minute.
It's your next tattoo.
On paper, CJ Ham,
Stave
not
for
very impressive. I mean, 2.9 yards a carry. We've got
Ham.
35
Ham for
yards on the
lunch.
ground, the 1 touchdown. But Ham grinded out some yardage in a lot of good spots. He had a couple problems there where he couldn't really get through the offensive line. Because let's be honest, at that point in the game, we're seeing 3rd, 4th string offensive linemen in there.
Willie Beaver. We're seeing Willie Beavers fall over.
You saw that, did you?
Oh Jesus, that was my favorite play of the game. I'm not gonna lie. Just Willie Beavers just back.
Shout out to
It's like
Willie
he
Beaver.
flare flopped backwards. I don't know what it was.
I don't know.
But I was really encouraged by what I saw from CJ Ham. I want to see this guy make the practice squad, and I don't think a team will sign him away, but I would love to see them stash him. I know a lot of it is personal bias on my part since I was born and raised in Duluth, Minnesota, so having CJ Ham be from there, I kind of rooted for him a little extra, and then when I saw what he had to offer, I was kind of like, yep, I want to see this guy succeed. So yeah, personal bias probably, but I like what I see.
He looks like an NFL caliber running back. I know that doesn't mean he's Adrian Peterson, but could he be part of a 2 or 3 man backfield rotation? I definitely think so. He's good competition for Matt Asiata. I think. I don't know if he can
Can't
take
no
that
bowling
spot.
ball Asiata.
Yeah, I don't know
And
if he can
Asiata
take
with
that
that
spot.
sweet nuke, huh? Wow.
Yeah, you know
Like
it.
I wrote in my article on the Viking Age, who bites on a Matt Asiata juke? It's not like he's, he's not Darren Sproles. He's not this little guy that's gonna whoop 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 you. Matt Asiata, if he does a little whoop, he's still going at you. He's a bowling ball. They don't change direction that easy.
But
And
I like CJ Ham.
Yeah, Asiata only had the 2 rushes for 9 yards, and one of them was 6. But CJ Ham, those 12 carries. I think that the Vikings really want to see what they've got in him.
We have a history of running backs that we've brought in during training camp and preseason end up not making the roster because we're set at that position, and then they end up finding a role on another team somewhere. Yeah, that happens quite frequently.
It does.
And I think CJ Ham could be the next in the long line of running backs to go on to find a home somewhere else in the NFL.
Probably.
True. And I hope that's not the case. I'd love to see him stay in Minnesota, but
Oh, sure.
when you're sitting on Minnesota's practice squad and you get an offer to be called up to the Titans' regular roster or something like that, you take it. Just the way the NFL works, man. Jerick McKinnon, 5 carries, 14 yards. Kevin Monongai, he had the 1 carry for 2 yards. Zach Line held the ball once but didn't go anywhere.
Fantasy points, Zach Line, fantasy
Stave,
football.
4 carries, -4 yards.
-4 yards.
Stave continues.
The Stave fun. Skull Vikes 5 says Stave equals young Tom Brady.
Oh, what? At what point of that looked like Tom Brady?
Young Tom Brady.
Young Tom.
Like back in grade school.
Like high school?
I was about to say Michigan Tom Brady.
Flag football?
Back in grade school. On to the receivers. We had a lot of players catching passes. The Vikings threw 27 passes, 20 catches total, and boy, were they spread all over the place.
Hmm.
all over the place.
We got some nice
Catching
little
the most passes
competition at wide
in the game,
receiver.
Laquan Treadwell caught 4 for 41 yards, and we saw a little bit more of that Treadwell fight that we saw from him on his college tape, to where when he catches the ball, he will always turn and try to go upfield, or he'll try to make a guy miss. And it's that kind of play that really plays well off Teddy Bridgewater, because Bridgewater can get the ball in a receiver's hands. But then if the receiver can do some work and make some extra yards after it, that is where the Vikings are going to succeed, and that is something Treadwell does very well. Caught 4 of his 5 targets, not bad. Charles Johnson only thrown to once, but that was all it took.
Hmm.
1 touchdown. It's listed here as 49 yards, but I'm pretty sure it's 51.
I
I'll
have to
keep it
watch that
short.
again.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I know we're getting a little long. I'm getting a little bit of echo too, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I'm
someone,
hearing some echo too.
yeah, turn it down just a tad bit. I'll keep it short because I know we're running long this week. But I liked what I seen from Laquan. It was a good first outing for him. He's gonna run. You can tell he's gonna run those really tough inside routes. They're gonna be great for moving the chains down the field, which is gonna open it up for guys like Charles Johnson to probably get the big plays. And I am perfectly okay with that. Like, we don't need, as long as someone is scoring the points. I don't care if it's Laquan or Patterson or Wright or Diggs or whoever. As long as someone is getting open down the field, I'm excited for this receiving core for the Vikings for sure.
I'm not going to talk about the wide receivers because I have a bold statement to make later.
Go for it.
Understandable. One of the guys that my co-editor over on the Viking Age was talking about was David Morgan. David Morgan looked really good this game. I praised him a lot when the Vikings drafted him. I loved the small things he did as a tight end with blocking, being able to use as a fullback, being able to be sneaky out of the backfield, soft hands for receptions. And guess what? He showed those soft hands 3 out of 3 as far as targets and receptions, 38 yards. Morgan is a guy that could be slated to take over for Red Ellison if the Vikings don't think Ellison can return.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely tough competition there at tight end for the Vikings. When he was drafted, I didn't really understand it because, whoa, that was loud. I didn't quite understand it because the Vikings I felt were pretty set, but he's making it interesting.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I was praising Troy Stoudermeyer for a while in the game, and then he came up and had that one big drop, and I was like, no! If he hadn't dropped that pass, he might have got my game ball. I was really impressed with Troy Stoudermeyer up to that point, but hopefully he can show up and do a little bit more against Seattle next week. Diggs only saw 1 target, caught it for 8 yards. McKinnon caught both of his for 10. Like I said, the ball got spread around past that point, but once you get past Charles Johnson's big touchdown, the 4 catches from Treadwell, Adam Thielen's catch, and David Morgan having 3 for 3, there isn't too much to talk about as far as the wide receivers because there wasn't much to talk about in general as far as that. 1-2 catches across the board, up to 10 yards, but overall, it's good to see the passes spread around. Nice to see these young guys getting some action. Coaches getting some tape on them against guys that aren't on their squad. So, interesting stuff. Good stuff. I like it. No fumbles for the Vikings. The only turnover, of course, came at the hands of Stave.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, there we go. Emmanuel Lamore, former Cincinnati Bengals guy, 8 total tackles. Jaron Curse was... I've been talking about how he's going to need time to develop and how raw he is. And I said the same thing about Anthony Barr. I said the same thing about Daniil Hunter. Jaron Curse looked like he doesn't need that much more work. I mean, he was all over the field, 5 total tackles, had a pass defense, had that interception, uh, got a nice hit on a quarterback. Could this be the guy?
Turns out Mike Zimmer is a pretty darn good defensive coach, Adam.
That's the best part, too. Shout out to the hometown areas from where I'm from. 2 of the Clemson boys standing out in this game, him and Mackenzie Alexander. Just crazy because they were so far apart in the draft as far as when they were chosen. But, man, Carlson, especially Alexander, they had quite a game. I was really happy and excited about them.
Absolutely.
Mackenzie Alexander completely made my donkey Jabari Price expendable. Like, you just look at the performance of the two, and you're like, gee, don't need this one. I mean, to be honest, that's exactly what happened in this game.
And I'm talking about J-Ron Curse, but Antone Exum Jr. also had a real nice game.
Mm-hmm.
He had a nice sack, pass defense, had some tackles as well, sprinkling them in. He had a nice,
He's a
solid
big
game.
fan favorite. He's a big fan favorite too, so it's always nice to see the guys that start to put it together on the field as well. And he's looking like he's starting to do that.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Weatherly was a guy that was in on a lot of plays, thumping around, and he was exactly what I thought he was going to be. Came out, made tackles, was in on plays. I like it.
How about Adam Kentrell Brothers
Oh, yeah.
doing what he does best and making tackles?
From a linebacker position, you got to love that. I mean, I know that Weatherly is a defensive end, so containing there is a little bit different. But Kentrell Brothers is that absolute thumper. That Chad Greenway mold, and we saw that as well in this game. He's taking
Mm-hmm.
smart angles, playing with his brain instead of his feet. Yeah, he doesn't have the kind of mobility that Kendricks does, but he makes up for it using his brain, and I like a player like that every once in a while. I think he can find a valuable spot on this team.
I for sure think he can. He's going to be reliable. Like, maybe not necessarily flashy ESPN highlight standout, but he's going to be a good, reliable player, like where you can come in and if you need a big stop on the goal line or a third down or whatever, I think he's the kind of guy that you can put in. Reliant, like he's going to sniff it out. He's got a nose for the ball. He's going to make that tackle. He's going to make that play. And I like that.
On returns, we got Troy Stoudemeyer, 2 kick returns, 55 yards, 2 punt returns, 12 yards. Like I said, Stoudemeyer, if you squint real hard, he kind of looks like CPAT on those returns. So
A little bit. We didn't see any Cordero either. I'm wondering how serious his injury is, because we didn't see anything from him.
or how far he is in the doghouse, one of the two.
Yeah.
One of the two. On to the social media question. We won't talk about the Bengals stuff because, let's be honest, we aren't a Bengals podcast.
Yeah, we're good with that.
And we're going long, too.
Just like Bridgewater did. Hey-o. But we asked all you guys who will lead the Vikings in receiving yards during the preseason, and we had 2 answers.
Barbarian.
Davenia Warner says Laquan Treadwell because he will play a lot and should get open on second and third team cornerbacks, and that's exactly what happened this week.
Mm-hmm.
So good call there.
Very good prediction.
Corbin Johnson says a toss-up between the 2 guys in the pitcher, Laquan to get him ready for the regular season, and Thielen because he always does good in the preseason, and he does. He's a good guy.
Well, we might as well answer. I think it'll be Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs is going to lead the team in receiving yards.
I think it's going to be Charles Johnson. I know that it's the trendy pick right now because of the one big play, but I do think he's going to get a little bit more acclimated to football. They're going to want to include him a lot more. And let's be honest, when you got Teddy Bridgewater throwing you the ball compared to Joel Stave, you got a little bit better of a chance.
I'm going to go with Laquan Treadwell only because he'll be right in that mixture in the middle area. Charles Johnson's our number 1 receiver, and I believe he won't play a lot as much as Laquan will. He won't get as many opportunities to catch the ball, and I think that's where he'll catch him. I think they will all be in a very, very tight mixture together. But since Laquan being a number 2, he'll have more playing time and thus get more opportunities.
Awesome. We don't have a social media question for you guys right now, all planned up. We'll make up something, shoot it over for you for next game. I'm kind of disappointed because I was thinking about using this question to do a little bit of a little giveaway. I had a couple Vikings rookie autograph cards, and I was thinking, I could package these together. But I'm not going to do it for just 2 people answering. That's not fun.
Guys got to get involved. We got to ask them more stuff that's going to make people mad.
Yeah, people don't answer unless they're mad. Be like, next post, Bridgewater sucks, and Adrian Peterson's ugly.
We gotta say something bad about Mike Zimmer, and we'll get the whole podcast page to comment. We won't have time to read through all the comments.
Now we just got to say something about Joel Stave.
Oh man, we would not be popular if we did that. Anybody listening to this too is gonna be like, "What? Stave's great," and yeah, Stave could be good. This game, I didn't see it.
We got
That
plenty of
is
chances.
essentially all I have this week. I think. I don't believe I have anything else down. I see a bold statement from Mr. Smith at the end here.
I've been anxiously awaiting this all episode. So, this is way too early, and that's what I like to do. I like to go and make stuff off of very small, minuscule recipes and things that we've seen. So, after seeing Charles Johnson and having a year off, I'll talk about Stephon Diggs. There's a resurgence of Cordero Patterson. He finally figured it out. We talk about Laquan Treadwell and this rookie sensation. Charles Johnson's going to be our number one receiver this year, hands down. I'm going to tell you why. Go watch the Bengals game. Diggs and Treadwell are going to go on the inside and do the slot over the middle plays. It's going to open up the field for Charles Johnson. That's what he's made for. I'm just going to call it out right now. I believe he will stretch the field enough. I dare say he will lead the team in receiving yards. Nobody thought about this. He was kind of low-hanging fruit, low-hanging fruit. He was kind of the hidden away guy because we didn't expect this because we didn't have him last year. And it's not because you want to write him off. It's not because we don't think he's good enough. We saw flashes when he was playing on Teddy's rookie year, but he wasn't talked about because he was injured last year. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And like Kyle said earlier, the wide receiver core is not something we usually get excited about. But with Jarius Wright, Adam Thielen, Laquan Treadwell, Stephon Diggs, Charles Johnson, NFC Pat figures it out. I mean, that's an exciting group to watch, and they have enough talent. We don't have a Julio Jones or an Odell Beckham type star there, but we don't need one. I think we have a mixture of guys who can make it good together. You know what I mean?
They could turn into one. Like, Stephon Diggs has all the talent to turn into a big name NFL receiver. Laquan Treadwell could turn into that guy. Like, we have a lot of talent at the receiver position for Minnesota.
But that's my bold statement for the week. After getting a small sample size and trying to play Norv Turner in my mind to see where everyone's going to go, I think you're going to see a lot of Diggs and a lot of Treadwell in the middle. I think Charles Johnson could lead the team in receiving yards. He could be our number one receiver this year.
There you go. On that note, I want to remind you guys to head on over to yahoo.com, go into Survival Football, join a league, join league number 241 with the password SKOL, all uppercase letters, and you could pick your way to some sweet, sweet Vikings gear. I know I got some awesome prizes in mind. I know Mr. Kyle West has something he's thinking about putting in there. Maybe we'll start revealing some of the prizes as we go to help keep fans excited. But for now, all I'm saying is go sign up. It's free. It's fun. If you can win, you can get some cool stuff. Even if you don't win, you might get something cool too. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And remember to head on over to the Viking Age. That's where I do my writing. That's where you can get a lot of your good Minnesota Vikings information. We got Fear the Walking Dead starting up soon, and The Walking Dead Season 7 just around the corner. So if you're into that zombie kind of stuff, head on over to Undead Walking, another place where I do a lot of my writing. You can go to Kyle West Photography. You can buy some pictures that Mr. Kyle West takes. He's got some really cool ones there, not just Vikings ones. He's also got some really cool wildlife, nature, some creepy stuff, some fun stuff, some little ducks and stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of stuff.
I'm going to have some new ones of US Bank Stadium that is going to be coming up here really, really soon. I got to tour it last weekend, and so I got some really neat photos of that.
And once again, I'm going to have Mr. Smith give his information on his music page.
If you guys can't see us in the logo that we have going on, I put it in from my Facebook music page, facebook.com/skatecow, SK8KOW. I also have a YouTube channel. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's all in my information there on my Facebook page. doing covers, and spreading the word around. I usually put a video up every week of all kinds of genres. So if you like music, want to support local people, head on over there and check that out.
And I want to thank the people that joined us here in the chat. It's always good to have you guys here. We enjoy hearing some other opinions, questions, thoughts, opinions, whatever. Input as well. I mean, if we got some feedback going on, or you guys have something that you need to say to us, or want to say to us, or want to give away your own Game Ball Donkey Awards, guess what? We're here. We'll talk about it. That's what we do. But in the meantime, on behalf of me, Mr. West, Mr. Smith, thank you for listening, and stay classy, Minnesota.